right, ladies and gentlemen, here it is, week number 5 of 2025. And what that means is we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, www.welikesportspc.com proudly presents to you their podcast tag team champions of the world, the Cleat Geek Mike Valentine, Moneybags Mitch Middlebrook, and we are the 6, 4, 3 and out guys, and you're listening to the Sportz Truth. How you been, buddy?
Good, man. Trying to get over a little bit of a cold, but yeah, I think I'm mostly through it, so can't complain.
That's good. That's good. I have to apologize to everybody. You'll see it's a little bit different. It's because I moved into a new house, and man, I am old. I'm hurting in places I didn't know I had places, brother. I'm telling you, moving is no fun, no joke. I only moved like 2 miles down the road, man, but I had to go from a 2-story spot to a 1-story spot. So I apologize to everybody. It was my fault. We didn't have a show last week, doing things with a little different camera angle. As you can see, we're doing things a little bit different with the screen. Tell us how you like it. You can comment. You can go right up there to the comments in the right-hand corner of the screen. Everybody who's already jumping on board with us, we appreciate. But before we get going too much, Mitch, you know what time it is. It's time for the walk-up music. Maybe. I don't know why it's not playing. It played not 10 seconds ago.
Mm.
All right,
Well,
hang
maybe it's
on.
yeah.
Are you ready?
There we go.
There we
20
go.
seconds start
Of course, I was ready 20 seconds ago, but that's okay.
now. 10 seconds remaining. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, we are getting this thing cranked up. Thank you all for already hopping on board with us. We see everybody. Once again, we will remind you that you can go to the top right-hand corner of your screen, click on the comment, and leave them. And you're saying, well, I don't even know what you guys are going to talk about yet. Give me a second. We'll get it going. We are going to talk about, we're going to make Mitch really, really happy in the second segment of the show today, because we're not only going to talk about the Brewers, but we're going to talk about the Tigers as well. 4 interesting questions about Cleveland's Myles Garrett. We'll get to that here in just a moment. Do the players and the agents have too much control over the NBA product? We'll answer that question as well. Speaking of the NBA, we'll play a little game at the end of our NBA segment called Will Luka. Should be fun. We'll get to it because of the big trade, of course, that happened over the weekend. Super Bowl predictions. And each of us, myself and Mitch Moneybags Middlebrooks over there, each got 3 prop bets that we're going to talk about as well. I know what mine are, but I have no idea what Mitch's are. Should be interesting. A Reds Hall of Famer is now involved in a group for an expansion MLB team. We'll tell you who he is and what city he's representing. Did Dallas get enough for Luka? And why the answer is much more complicated than just yes or no. How do you balance having fun with winning a major game in sports? Did Dirk Nowitzki have a part to play in Dallas's Luka decision? And what kind of message is MLB sending by firing umpire Pat Obert? All of this and much more on the Sportz Truth. Mitch, how you been, brother?
Good. Can't complain. Excited to be back. Happy to hear the move went well.
Yeah, it didn't go too bad. I mean, I've got some scars and I got some pain in some places that I don't want to have pain. But other than that, buddy, we're pretty good. I know you said you were battling the cold. Are you on the other side of it here, bud?
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna knock on wood a little bit because it's been a while, but yeah, I think I'm on the up and up, so can't complain.
Excellent, excellent. Like we said, earlier before we really get into the meat and potatoes of things, that we're going to start with the NBA today. I got some breaking news for you. You and I were talking about it a little bit before we went on air. I'm not sure how many of our fans have heard as of yet. The Arizona Diamondbacks did do a signing today. They signed Randall Gritchett back with the team one more time to a 1 year, $5 million deal. From what I saw, it didn't have any kind of anything for future years or anything like that. So it was just a straight 1 year, $5 million deal. What do you think about Arizona signing Randall Gritchett as their primary DH for the upcoming season?
Yeah, kind of rare to see just a 1 year, no incentives, no options or anything. I feel like you don't typically see that anymore. There's usually always an option or something thrown in there, some kind of incentive. But a good deal. I think five mil for Randall is maybe a little bit overpaying. I don't really know, you know, what the market there was. But I don't think it's a bad signing. I think Arizona has enough outfielders, but he can kind of fill in some slots, maybe some off days for some guys. So that'll be good. Yeah, primary DH. So we'll see. I mean, he's had ups and downs throughout his career. Spent some time in AAA the last 2 years, so we'll see. I think it's overall a good signing. Maybe just a million or million and a half too much, I'd say.
Okay. So, well, maybe, you did mention that, hey, Arizona does have a lot of outfielders. Maybe this allows them to then trade one of those guys and get a closer, which I think they so desperately need. When you think about something like that.
Yeah, definitely need some backup help on that bullpen. That's going to be their low point so far. So yeah, if they could do that, that would be a huge help for those guys.
Right. So you're going to see me kind of move around. I'm getting a little bit used to this. I've got all kinds of. I mean, I wish there was a camera behind me where you could see all the stuff I've got around me right at the moment. Two laptops, a cell phone, a soundboard. I got all kinds of stuff. I can do all kinds of crazy crap now. So we're we're knee deep into this, man. And all of our people keep telling us by adding to our numbers. We're already in double digits and haven't even started talking about really sports yet. So we appreciate everybody. They are proving that we might actually, know what we're doing and have a little fun while we're doing it all at the same time. So different camera angle, little bit different look. And we're going to jump right into it here. Well, wait a minute. I wanted to say one more thing before we do. I don't know if you saw this or not today, Mitch. I didn't talk to you about it beforehand, and it was not in our notes that we had because it literally just happened today. Myself, Mitch, and the rest of the crew here at www.welikesportspc.com want to send our heartfelt condolences to the Woods family as Tiger announced earlier today that his mother has passed away. So we wanted to make sure that we put our condolences out there for him, for Tiger, and everything else. Mitch, you want to make a little comment about that real quick before we jump into the NBA, buddy?
Yeah, I actually didn't see that. So yeah, that's breaking news for me. Sad to hear, definitely. But yeah, it's definitely our hearts go out to the Woods family. Yeah, that's a tough one for sure.
As we jump into the NBA action, there is one featured game going on right at the moment. Like I said, I got stuff everywhere, so I got some scoring updates for you and stuff too. Right at the moment, 6 minutes, 22 seconds in the second quarter. You've got Boston Celtics up on the Cleveland Cavaliers, 45-26. All right, so Mitch and I are going to do this for the first time this year. We're actually going to have an NBA segment. I think I'm going to change the name a little bit here. I was looking at stuff last night. I used to call this the NBA 3-point line. We'll toss that down here at the bottom. I think we're going to go with NBA 4-court press. I kind of like 4-court press a little better than I do NBA 3-point line. So we're going to do 4 questions. They're all going to focus on the Luka Doncic. Who was that other guy? Anthony Davis. That was that guy's name. that trade that happened over the weekend. We're really going to focus on that, but we're going to look at it from several different angles that maybe other places haven't done. That's what we like to try to do here on the Sports Truth with myself, Mike Valentine, and Mitch Moneybags Middlebrook. So let's start here, buddy. Um, so we're going to look at this Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis trade from, like I said, different angles, and we're going to ask questions based on those angles. So let's start with kind of a softball question, right? Just kind of throw it up there for you, buddy. I'm getting used to this other camera angle here. So did Dallas get enough for Luka? Simple, straightforward. What do you think, Mitch?
Yeah, I know you said it. It's not this simple, but I really think it is. No, no way. No, 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 no. No way did they get enough for Luka. They sent him away for peanuts. They didn't get any kind of return or any kind of notable return, and I just don't get it at all. They packed him up and sent him away in the night and hoped nobody would say anything about it, while they made one of the biggest trades in NBA history. So, yeah, no chance that they get enough back.
So let's talk about what they did get back. All right. So they got back Anthony Davis, they got Max Christie, and they got the Lakers 2029 first round pick. And you're saying that's not near enough, right?
No, they could have gotten 2 or 3 first round picks for Luka. They got a guy in Anthony Davis who plays less than Luka, and if that was their biggest concern about injuries and his conditioning, they got a guy who's even more injury prone and takes care of his body even less and is basically like a walking piece of glass out there. So yeah, definitely did not get enough. I think if we're talking about 2 first round picks, 3 first round picks, then you can kind of justify it. But for only 1 back in 2029, it's just not enough.
Okay, and you know where I'm going with this because you've seen the notes. You know how we're heading here, and I hope the rest of the fans out there can really kind of follow along with us and know we're gonna. Well, I'm gonna look at it from more of the Dallas GM perspective, and I'm sure Mitch is going to look at it from more of a fan perspective. I'm not a huge NBA guy. In fact, I have watched 1/2 of one game so far this season, and that was Phoenix and Golden State the other night. That was only because I was so darn tired and I was just laying there in bed and okay, click something. And I mean, I didn't seek it out or anything. It just happened to be when I clicked the remote, it happened to be what was on, so I stuck with it. I don't really get into the NBA until after the All-Star break usually, and since that's not happened yet, I'm just not really into it. But this is a trade that I thought we needed to talk about, really needed to jump into and dissect. So we are going to do our first NBA segment of the 2025 season right here, right now. The Lakers were not allowed to speak with Bill Duffy, that's Luka's agent, about signing a long-term deal. Therefore, the Lakers refused to give up any more draft capital without being able to do that. So if you were the Mavs, would you have allowed them to talk in order to get back another first, a third first, another first round or another second round, or what would you have done?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that it all speaks to what they were trying to accomplish with this and the kind of like sneaky roundabout way they went about doing this. They didn't want it to get out in the media at all that this was happening and that they were, even taking offers or even the ones bringing the offers to people and to other teams. So I think that's why they don't let you talk to the agent. They don't want anyone to have any type of info on, what conversations are happening. If you keep it tight and you keep it between front offices, you know exactly who it is that would leak something. So the question marks are a lot less. But yeah, I think that speaks to exactly why they didn't get, much return, because this deal happened so quickly, and they just wanted to get it done. And to be so fed up with a guy who just took you to the finals like Luka did, is really surprising to me to not try to get a full return even because of that or whatever feelings they have about Luka. Just yeah, it's a real surprise.
We are not going to agree on this whatsoever. I can tell, you're pretty passionate about this. I am. I understand a whole lot more about makeup than I do talent. I understand that there's talent there, but aren't we forgetting about Kyrie? I mean, you just said, "Oh, Luca took them to the playoffs." There's more on that basketball team than just Luca. I mean, he's got a really great side piece there with Kyrie Irving. Did you forget he was there?
No, I didn't, but that's a great point. He is the number two. He's not. Kyrie can no longer carry a team like he did in Cleveland without LeBron, and like he did in previous years. He's just not that player anymore. And Kyrie is a great complementary player to Luca. They learned just recently, in kind of at the end of last year, they started to mesh finally in their playing styles. But he's not going to be the Kyrie that we've known as of recent without Luca having so much impact on that team and that makeup.
So then Dallas shouldn't be winning right now.
I mean, did you see what happened to him the other night? The day after? Largest
I didn't.
largest first quarter deficit in team history, down 41, I want to say, and then 49 at half. Now that was to Cleveland, so Cleveland's blowing everybody out these days, but still, you can just tell what it did to the morale in that first game, after losing him.
Well, let me get to Sirhan here. I threw this up there. He's our first comment. We certainly appreciate him doing so. When we would love for everybody else to do the same thing. He says, "Good evening, guys," and good evening, Sirhan. He's part of our coverage with www.welikesportspc.com. He does fantastic boxing articles, and he also covers the Cincinnati Bengals. Says Dallas should have gotten much more than what they got from the Lakers. At least 3 first-round picks on top of what they already got. So by reading that, he's thinking they should have got 4 first-round picks because they got 1, plus they got a player. So, Mitch, I'll ask you, following up on Sirhan's comments, do you really think they could have got 4 first-round picks plus a player?
If that player isn't Anthony Davis and it's just Max Christie, I could see that. I think that might be a little steep just because of the ability to re-sign. He is, this is the last year of his contract. So I think that might be a little much, but I do agree that, the talent wise, it's there for that kind of draft capital.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get into this. So here's, we've looked at A, we've looked at B. Now we're going to go into C here as the numbers keep climbing. Thank you guys for coming on. We'll keep reminding you. You can put your comments up in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And as long as they're on topic with us, we'll put them up on the screen and add you to the show. If the agent knows, then the player knows. You agree with that statement?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why the Lakers weren't allowed to talk to the agent.
Yeah.
Because he would have spilled the beans to his client, which I guess he should, right? He is representing him. I don't really necessarily have a problem with that. But why are teams so concerned about having a upset superstar they explored a trade with? The NBA is still a business, Mitch. Why do all these teams seem to be just so enamored and so, we can't make our superstars upset? Come on. Doesn't everybody, including the fans, understand this is a business, and business looks at and does or they don't do transactions, but they at least look into a lot of different transactions that never actually even happen.
Yep. Yeah, I agree, and I think there is too much concern about, we're going to hurt these professional athletes' feelings. We're going to, make them upset if they learn that we're potentially hearing trades or you know, entertaining things to move them and get some capital back for them. Honestly, I think this whole trade and this whole process with the Mavericks has shined a lot of light on how poor of a GM that they have in Dallas right now, and the pitfalls and the things that he made mistakes on with this process. Um, I think I understand the reason they do it and the reason they don't want the player to know, because you don't want to upset him if you don't get a deal done, and he does end the year in Dallas. But I think, it's Luka Doncic, and if you're going to take this deal, you were going to get a deal done no matter what by the trade deadline. And if it's an open market and Luka's aware and his agent's aware that he's being shopped, um, they can kind of help you out too as a team. And they didn't have the ability to do that because they didn't even know this was happening. And so I understand why you want to make sure you don't upset him if you're going to keep him on the team. But if you're going to take this low of an offer from somebody, there's no way you wouldn't have gotten a trade done before the deadline if there was some kind of bidding war going on for Luka.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and I know you're probably looking at me like he ain't even looking at me when I'm talking. I am listening to you. Like I said, I'm trying to get used to having all this stuff around me. I'm looking because there's all kinds of rumors flying around out here about this trade now. We got different stuff people are talking about, and I'm looking things up all at the same time. Um, so they made, and I'm trying to find it here real fast. They already made one additional trade. Did Dallas today? Hold on. I thought I put that here. Yeah, so I know they've made one additional trade. I'm reading a bunch of stuff all at the same time. Maybe I shouldn't. So, oh yeah, here we go. They got
Caleb Martin.
yeah, they got Caleb Martin. So yeah, Caleb Martin to the Mavericks. They gave up Quentin Grimes in order to get him, and I know I can hear the microphone doing different stuff as I turn my head around. And like I say, bear with me because I'm getting used to all this stuff around me here. So now the Athletic is reporting. It's what I was reading while you were talking. But despite what my wife says, I can do two things at once. I swear. The Athletic is saying that Dallas is heavily in pursuit of Kevin Durant now from the Suns to try to get him to come in, and you go Davis, Durant, and Irving. I was listening to 98.7 earlier today, and a couple of people that they had on were basically saying they didn't want to give stuff away, but the Phoenix fans might be shocked to know what is kind of going on behind closed doors, and this might be what he was talking about. It's one of the things that really interests me about MLB, about Major League Baseball, is the trade deadline. And I've always said that the NFL sucks when it comes to trade deadline stuff. This may get me into the NBA a little earlier if we really start having some trades that start doing switching the landscape around. So you never know what's going to happen here, and this is starting to get interesting. So I don't think Phoenix can win with the roster they currently have, and they're in salary cap. What do you want to call it? They're in salary cap 80s or whatever. I mean, they've got to do something to get rid of some of this salary, and maybe that is trading away Kevin Durant. And we're just kind of shooting at the hip here. So according to the Athletic, the Mavericks are looking to add Kevin Durant. Interesting. So we'll see how all this unfolds. Let me get back to some of the notes that we were looking at here as we react to stuff that's happening live, and then we do the things that we were going to do as well. So I think this is a great question, Mitch. I put this question out there on social media 2 or 3 times today because I wanted to see some of the reactions that we get from our followers and our fans, which, by the way, over 6,100 now. We appreciate that as well. So do the players and agents have too much control over the current NBA product. I'm just going to sit back and listen to this because I know you're a bigger NBA guy than I am. Let me hear what you got to say on this, Nick.
Yeah, I think they do. I think the superstars in the NBA have kind of gotten out of hand. One, I think there's too many players in the NBA that think they're superstars. And I think the NBA is full of what I would call like wide receiver divas in the NFL. At least in the NFL, it's only the wide receivers that are divas. It seems like the NBA has at least one or two guys that are that like wide receiver level diva in the league, and they are it, and so their agents have to kind of appease them and adhere to their rules and who they are. So they do ask a lot more than I think they should. They get a lot more than I think they should. I mean, look at guys like Joel Embiid, who who's played less than half the games he's been in the NBA for, and still thinks he's a max contract player, still thinks he's an MVP candidate. These guys have way too big of inflated egos. And it's because they can, and they still get the payday that they're hoping for. So there's no incentive not to do what they do.
Right, even Fox, right? I mean, he basically held his team hostage to get himself traded to the Spurs over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of the trades that went down that I don't think as many people are talking about that really makes the Spurs strong with how you say his name, Wembanyama, right? I think that's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we're going to be doing this here in the NBA for a few moments, and we're going to jump into MLB and also NFL as well. When we get to MLB, we're going to talk about guys like Sal Frelick, Tyler Black, Oliver Dunn, Andrew Monasterio, all that good stuff. So we're getting there, gentlemen and ladies that are listening to us right now. You're the one that said you were having the cold, and I'm the one over here coughing up the storm. I got myself all locked up in this room. It keeps echoing and everything else. We'll throw this in. I was just reading on one of our accounts here. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this or not anymore because, man, I'm getting way too much information from way too many sources. And it's like making my little head hurt. My neck is starting to cramp up here. But according to one of our accounts, we follow NBA Central. It's at the Dunk Central. They're saying that Dallas is actually refunding season ticket holder money if they want to. If the season ticket holders want to cancel, they're going to refund their money. So I thought that's an interesting thing the Dallas Mavericks are saying that they're going to do. So I believe the players and agents have way too much control over this NBA product. I saw today where Max Scherzer signed with the Blue Jays, just to give you an example of MLB stuff back and forth, right? And he signed for $15 million, and then he has all these incentives that he's got in there. If he makes the World Series, if he's an All-Star, he gets $50,000. If he's this, he gets $50,000. And there's like 8 or 9 different incentives over the $15 million where he makes $50,000 a piece. And this is Max Scherzer, for God's sake. I mean, is this how he's paying his agent? Because he don't need this money. I don't understand. And in the NBA, it's the same kind of way, right? They're holding teams hostage. They're trying to say, I don't want to go here. I want to go join this player. I want to go to my friends, and I want to. Okay, I'd rather work with my friends too. But here's the problem: a lot of people can't work with their friends. They can't tell their friends no. They can't do the things that they need to do with their friends. Right? That's why they're their friends. So I don't necessarily know that this is a good thing for the NBA. All these guys getting together because they're all friends. So we'll see how all that plays out. Let's look at this from the Lakers' standpoint, and I'll ask you this, Mitch. Was it smart for the Lakers to keep this trade quiet?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Get it done as quick as you can. I'm really surprised they took long enough to meet as a front office once they were, proposed with this trade. I'm surprised they didn't just say, yes, where do I sign right away? So yeah, they were really smart to keep it quiet and try to get it done as quickly as they could.
Yeah, and then like you're saying, nobody's bidding against them, right? So
Yeah.
it's just them. How many times have we seen in every sport where we say it only takes one team, right? It only takes one team to bid against each other.
Hmm.
So yeah, absolutely. The Lakers did this and played this perfect as far as their front office goes. And I can't wait to the end of this segment when we play Will Luca with you, because I think we got some pretty interesting questions to see. Will Luca do this or will Luca do that? So that'll be interesting. And now that he's joined the Lakers and LeBron, we have some great questions for you and for the rest of our listeners here with us as well. Here is the Twitter poll question. It's time for that to come up. So let's do the right for the Twitter poll question. We're gonna put it on the board. Yes. All right. If you were the Dallas Mavericks, would you have any reservations about giving Luka Don kick? Is that how you really say it? Is Don kick?
Hmm.
CIC, right? Okay. That
Yep.
is how you spell it. I looked it up like 3 different places to make sure I didn't make a fool of myself putting it up here on the screen. So, would you have any reservations about giving Luca a supermax 5 year, $345 million contract? Mitch, would you have any reservations about a contract that large for that short a time frame for
No,
Luca?
no, honestly, I wouldn't. At only 25 and the way that the market is in the NBA, no, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Guys that are worse than Luca are going to be getting that soon. And to keep Luca, who means so much to the fan base, no, I wouldn't have a single problem with that.
See, again, we are not gonna agree on this. There is no man worth $345 million for 5 years. There's no woman that'd be worth that, and we'll just leave it at that. So I don't want to
I
get
know.
ourselves thrown off the air, right?
So, yeah, I mean, I would agree, but when you look at other contracts in the NBA, like Jason Tatum, 5 year, 313 million, I'll pay an extra 30 million over 5 years to get Luca over Jason Tatum. Jalen Brown, 5 years, 285 million. Luca is exponentially better than Jalen Brown. So an extra 50 million to get Luca instead of Jalen Brown over 5 years, 10 a year. Yeah, I think that's definitely worth it. I mean, you got guys like Bradley Beal who signed a 5 year, $250 million contract, and no team even wants him. So I don't know.
He
I think
didn't do
that's
bad the other night. I was watching when he was playing against Golden State. He didn't do at least too bad.
yeah. I think he's another one of those guys. He's kind of got this stink on him like Russell Westbrook does. And you just really have to think like, man, can we win with the way that this guy plays? Sure, he can go out there and put on a show and get his numbers up there. But can we really win a championship with this guy? I think that's the biggest question mark there.
Okay, but don't you feel the same about Luca? Because I feel the exact same way that you just described Bradley Beal. I feel the same way about Luca. Do you not remember the Bradley Beal in Washington that was just lighting everything up, and you're like, oh, this is the next guy. He's the superstar. And now look at him. What if Luca turns out to be the same way, and you've sunk 5 years and $345 million into a 25-year-old 270 pound, which is what he is rumored to balloon up to? Um, we know he's always had trouble with his weight. We know he's always had trouble with his conditioning. Those are two things that I don't want to associate with any athlete in any sport. Never mind a guy that's got to go up and down a court and up and down a court. You don't see any fat soccer players, and you know why? Because they're always running. I mean, you don't really see too many chunky NBA players, and then Luca steps out there. I mean, it's like putting David Wells as your point guard, for God's sake. Really?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They're fair concerns, but I think what he does on offense is unquestionable, and he's proven it. He's taken his team that probably wouldn't ever have been there otherwise to the NBA Finals, and I think that's where his value is. I think in a few years we're going to be seeing we're going to be seeing a lot of guys that are not at Luka's talent level making that kind of money. And then at that point, we would be looking back at this and saying, you know what, I think that was a good deal to sign Luka for that much at 25.
Okay, so did you hear about the pickup game? I put this in the end of our notes, and I don't know if you have this insight or not. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about you, Mitch. Um, I look at and read a lot, right? And I'm not trying to say that you don't, you can't read or anything. I'm not trying to say that. But so from some of the insiders that deal with the Mavericks on a daily basis, I guess there was a pickup game that they were all supposed to play, and all of them being all the Mavericks players, they wanted Luka to come, and it's just a pickup game, nothing, no hard fouls, no shoving people, no, I won't say no screens, but you know what I mean by a pickup game, right? So it's not near as physical as everything else. And basically, Luka said, "I'm not coming. I don't have to. I'm not going to." And from what it was led to believe, from some of the things that I've read, that was pretty much the last straw, and that's why they really started looking at trading him in angst. And as we both know, the um, the general manager for the Dallas Mavericks knows a lot about Anthony Davis. Decided, yes, this is the guy that I want. If I'm going to trade Luka for somebody, I want to target a specific player. So he went to one team. That way, the agent wouldn't get wind of it, and Luka wouldn't get wind of it or anything else. So he made a calculated decision to get out from underneath a $345 million contract he is going to have to pay. And he got Anthony Davis, who, let's see here, 3 years, $175 million is Anthony Davis. And he got another player and a first round pick. And yes, I agree with you in your earlier statement. And with Sirhan as well, they probably should have got more. But they were in between a rock and a hard place, like literally. So I think under the circumstances, what they got is not terrible, and what they're getting out of it's almost addition by subtraction. What they're getting out of is something pretty great here as well. 345 million. Look at Phoenix right now, right? Phoenix had to scramble because they've got Booker and KD and Beal. Dallas is going to have, they would have had Luka, they would have had Irving, and if they're going to try to add a third player that's any, I don't want to say any count, but has some more skill, that's going to be them, and they're going to have to fill the rest of their roster with veteran minimums. I understand what they're doing. If I put my GM hat on and I take my feelings and everything else out of it, I completely understand. So here's my last. Well, no, it's not the last question because I think we're gonna enter Dirk Nowitzki into this conversation here in a moment, and I think that'll be an interesting part for us to look at as well. So here's my question to you, talking about everything we've talked about so far, Mitch, and that is: would you rather have Luka's money and talent, or Anthony Davis's 3 year, $175 million contract, and Max Christie and the 2029 first round pick? Look at it from a complete and total perspective. Tell me what you'd rather have, even though I probably already know the answer to this and we're going to disagree. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'd rather have Luka. I think Luka and the money. The way I see it, you're paying Anthony Davis, a guy who isn't half the player that Luka is anymore, half the money that Luka would have over 3 years, and he's probably not going to play half the games that Luka's going to play, just because of his injuries and Anthony Davis. He's getting older. He's going to be more injured now than any time throughout his career, and that's really hard to do for Anthony Davis because there's always injuries. I think actually Max Christie is a nice pickup here, and the first round pick could turn out, in their favor. But I think I don't know many teams that would trade for Anthony Davis right now, and that's, I think, what surprises me the most about this. It's not that they don't want to pay Luka the 345 over 5 years, because I kind of get that. I get that, you have concerns about this guy's conditioning, you have concerns about his mobility and his defense, I understand all that, and honestly, I don't blame him for it. I think those are valid concerns. I think what I don't understand the most is having this belief so strongly in Anthony Davis being the guy, because 3 years, 175 million is nothing light either.
True, I'll give you that. 3 years, 100, but it's a heck of a lot better than 5 years at 345. So yeah, I guess it depends on how much money you want to sink into which player, because you were right on earlier when you said you called him a like a walking glass statue or something like that. Anthony Davis gets hurt a lot too. Um, so I don't know. I think it comes down to conditioning. And as much as I personally don't like LeBron James, man, I've got to give him some credit, man. I'm 51. I'm hurting right now from doing all this moving and lifting and everything else. And here's LeBron James going up and down the court like he's still 30. Um, Now, don't get me wrong. He makes a whole lot more money than I do, and he can pump all kinds of money into his body and into his diet and everything else. Uh, but I'll still give him his props for at least taking that some of that money that he is being given and giving it back to his team essentially by making sure that he is in the best shape of his life.
Yep.
Uh, we'll talk about that some more here in a moment. Let's interject Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki played 21 seasons in Dallas, and he led the Mavericks to 15 NBA playoffs and playoff appearances, but only one championship. So would Luca cost too much and put Dallas in that same boat where he would be the only guy there and you'd be dependent on Luca to carry you, just like not long ago they depended on Dirk to carry them. If you pay, well, let me do that question first. So would they be in the same boat if they paid Luca 345?
Yeah, I think they would. I think it's really tough to add extra pieces when you do that. You do have a player on a supermax deal, but teams have done it. You kind of got to get lucky, and you kind of got to go out there and spend money where you can, and pitch people the idea of, hey, this is what we're building. This is just the championship team. Giannis has been on a supermax contract, and the Bucks won the championship during that with Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez. So it's not impossible to do. Again, it's only one, but it's hard to say. Two both completely different players, very special guys in their own respect, Dirk and Luca. But I think you could see it going the same way of getting that 1 year. And the rest of the year is just not panning out. So I kind of get, that's fresh in their mind too. And you don't want to fall into that same trap and 21 years later realize, hey, we only got one championship to show for it, or one finals appearance to show for it, or, whatever it is.
Yeah, so see, that was where I was going with this next question. We got this question, then we're going to play Will Luca here in a second. I think this will be a good game. We may have to put a game show on here all the time and get some game show music and stuff. If this goes well, but we'll see. So, yeah, if you pay Luca $345 million, no matter who you surround him with, and over those next 5 years, you only get, let's say you win I'll give you a finals championship. You only get one in that 5 year. Was it worth the $345 million? I mean, so from a business standpoint, do you really think you can recoup $345 million if you win one championship over a 5 year span, business wise?
Yeah, I'm sure they could. With how marketable of a player Luca is, and how bought into Luca that fan base was, I think you do. I think you can. I think especially over 5 years. If you're re-upping this contract after the 5 years and there is no championship, there's not even a finals appearance. I think that's when you kind of get into the sunk cost and you say, okay, are we willing to now go, $750 million into this one player, through these last two contracts? If we get to year 10 and we don't have a championship to show for it, there's no way we can make $750 million over, the last 10 years. So that's when it gets really tough. I think if you can guarantee one championship a year, it's a lot easier to justify.
All right, so some breaking MLB news here as I got all this stuff around me. It's not a huge trade, but the Cubs are getting Ryan Brazier from the Dodgers. They put him for assignment earlier in the week when they signed a couple of their other players, and we'll get into some of those numbers here in just a few moments with everything going on with MLB. Mitch doesn't know this yet because I didn't include it on his notes, but I've got some extra stuff we're going to look at on our MLB thing. And then I am scouring Twitter here, and there are all kinds of news outlets that are reporting that the Phoenix is getting ready to trade Kevin Durant. It's crazy how this has just popped up in like the last hour or so. And it'll be interesting to see if it really happens. I'll keep my eye on everything here as we do the show. So we're gonna, and you know what, Luca is a fan favorite up there, and you have to look at that too, Mitch, as you pointed out very expertly. I do appreciate that. Yeah, he is. He is Dallas, right? So now it's going to be Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, and I don't know if um, they can pull people in like what Luca did. So that'll be an interesting dynamic to this whole thing as well. Let's play a game show here real quick. I didn't get any theme music for this because I know when I play the music, you can't hear Mitch's lovely voice over there, and I haven't figured out. I don't know if I need another channel on this soundboard or how all that has to work here. So, but we're going to play Will Luca. All right, and here we go, Mitch. Will Luca be able to coexist with LeBron in LA?
Yeah, I think he will. I think they're actually a good mesh, and I think at this point of his career, this is kind of what LeBron needs. He's been ready to take that step back and be that second fiddle on the court. Not personality-wise, that's for sure, but be that second fiddle on the court. So, yeah, I think they will go well together. I think for what kind of ball player LeBron is now, more of an off-the-ball guy, and they can kind of flip-flop back and forth between who's the primary ball handler. I think it is going to help LeBron a lot at this stage in his career.
All right. So I don't know if they can really mesh because my big thing is both of them want the ball. Both of them want their stats. LeBron wants to go out on a high note, whether it's this year or next year, and Luka is trying to get a big time deal, so he needs his stats. I'm not saying they can't coexist. I think it'll be a little bit more difficult than what the picture you just painted will be for them to actually get their numbers and still coexist with each other. So let's go to the second question: will Luka change his diet and conditioning because of the influence of LeBron James?
Yeah, I think he will actually. I think LeBron is pretty hard on his teammates, and there's not going to be any excuses that Luka maybe has when he doesn't have LeBron James telling him what to do or kind of getting on him for making stupid decisions or just lazy things. There's no reason Luka shouldn't have the best conditioning, best diet, and best body. Right now, he's got all the money in the world to do it, to pay attention to his nutrition and what kind of stuff he's putting into his body and getting out of it. So yeah, I do think LeBron will help him there. To your point earlier, LeBron's got his body probably the best it's ever been at 40 years old. So he can keep playing at this level. So I think it'll definitely rub off on Luka.
All right, the Astros just announced more breaking news for you. Like I said, I got all this stuff around me. They just announced.
And I don't know if this is good for you.
I know it, man, and I'm on like overload here. It's like crazy, man. It's like crack. So I've never done crack before. What it's like. So Houston has just announced that they're going to retire Billy Wagner's number now that he has gone to the MLB Hall of Fame. So there's a little something for you as well. We're going to continue and do our final question here on Will Luka. Well, I tell you what, let me go back to this one. And I think this will be the big thing for Luka as far as LeBron James goes. LeBron James is not a big personal guy for me. I respect him in his game and what he's done for the game. Well, no, not really. I think he's one of these. I think he's one of the problems in the NBA. But I do have to say, look at you smiling over there. I can see it under the mustache. I do have to say that I think LeBron has spent his money well on his body and on his conditioning and all of that. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that. And I think that he could be a really good influence on Luca. And this might be this might be the best thing that ever happened to Luca is getting with LeBron James and not just seeing him at the All-Star game or seeing him in the off season or talking to him on the phone or a group chat every once in a while or something like that. Actually being in the locker room with him and having his actual influence on him every single day. This might be the best thing ever for Luca, and it may actually pay off for him big dividends wise with him having LeBron as a what do you want to call it here, a mentor
Yeah.
for the next few years. And that leads me to the final Will Luca question. So, Mitch Moneybags Middlebrook, will Luca sign a 5+ year contract with the LA Lakers?
Well, I think that's a really great point you just made, and I think this question in my answer is almost entirely reliant on what LeBron James's future looks like. I think if LeBron's going to stick around for a year, 2 years longer, it really increases the likelihood of Lucas signing an extension to stay in LA with the Lakers. I think it is going to be a big impact that LeBron has on Luca, and their meshing is really going to be important for Luca's immediate success in LA, but also long term ability to stay and desire to stay. So if they have a good season, yes, I do think Luca will sign an extension to stay in LA. But there's a lot of ifs, and it really just comes down to his relationship with LeBron and how well they finish out this season.
Got some more stuff over here, but I'm going to wait for a minute. I really want to answer this question with you. Um, I think this will be very, very interesting to see if he will actually sign with the Lakers or if he'll try to test the free agency market or what's going to happen here. I don't know. I should have done a little bit more research on this part. I don't 100% know if he's going to get more than the 345 if he tests the free agent market or less than the 340. I think it's less, I believe.
Yeah, the only way he could have made the 345 was if it was with the Mavericks. That's their whole like supermax deal. You can only be with the team that you've been with on your rookie contract, and or yeah, your last the trade essentially nulled the supermax, and now he'll get less, probably around 300 to 310.
Oh, poor guy. He's only going to get
Yeah,
300,
he'll be
310,
really,
right?
he'll be really hurting it. We'll find him
Yeah.
under the LA freeway.
Right. Hang on. Let me say a prayer for poor looking. That's only going to get 310 million. So, I guess that's the NBA's incentive to keep players there, with their teams. The Tony Gwynn effect, where you got one guy with the team for the entirety of his career. You want to look at an NBA guy, we mentioned him earlier, the Dirk Nowitzki um, effect, keeping him there with the entire team the entire time. So I get it. Um, but he's not going to be hurt for money or anything. And like I said, I wonder if he'll sign with the Lakers or if he'll test the free agent market and he'll sign somewhere else. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Are the Lakers done? I guess that's the other question here. Obviously the Mavericks aren't done. The Lakers might not be done. Maybe all these teams are going to try to make a push for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So there's multiple things happening here. A little bit of sad news as well. I guess Michael Jordan's son, Marcus Jordan. Have you heard about this guy yet today? Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of saw it come across. He was arrested and booked Orange County Jail for DUI, cocaine possession, and resisting arrest. So not a great life there, but I don't know. You can't always control your kids, right? You think you can, but you can't always control them. So
Yeah.
okay, so all right, buddy. We're not gonna play a whole lot of music on everything today. We're just gonna jump in and we're gonna go from from NBA to MLB. But I am gonna give you a stat of the day from MLB. It's from our good friends over at Codify. You can follow them on X at Codify Baseball. as our numbers keep climbing. Appreciate everybody jumping in. Once again, I'll remind everybody, uh, top right-hand corner of the screen, you can put your comments in. We are done with the NBA, but you can certainly jump in here with our MLB conversation. We're going to look at Brewers. We're going to look at Tigers. We're going to look at the gambling aspect of Major League Baseball. I'm going to spend some time on that. And then we're going to close everything out with a former Cincinnati Reds player who is now looking at possibly getting involved with an expansion team. We're going to tell you who it is and what city he is going to represent here in just a second. But first of all, Codify at Codify Baseball gives us this stat, and I wanted to share it with all of you today. Ellie De La Cruz stole third base 20 times last year. And if you don't think that's a feat, only 7 total teams stole 20 or more bases at third last year. So, yeah, crazy stat. Crazy stat. And let me give you this before we jump into this stuff too far, because we are going to talk about the free agent market and everything else, Mitch. First of all, Mitch, where can people find you at on Twitter, buddy? Where you at, bud?
Yeah, you'll find me at MitchellBrook52 on Twitter. Feel free to follow along, and I'll follow back.
Excellent, excellent. You can certainly do that. You can jump on ours, of course. It is at the 643 and out pod, like the other 6,100 and some odd people have already. Join the revolution and jump on board with us. All right. According to Buster Only, there are approximately 7 dozen veteran free agents still left out there to be signed, and there are less than 1 dozen 40-man roster spots currently on all the teams put together. Yeah, there's a stat for you. There's all kinds of players out there that still can be signed, and there are very few 40-man rosters left. And I see Mitch over here. He's like, oh, because I hit him with something that he didn't know was coming. So what do you think, buddy? I mean, like and I'm sure some of those are probably Miami Marlins spots and stuff like that. So what's going to happen here? We'll talk about expansion in a few moments. Are there too many players out there and not enough teams for these guys?
Yeah, there might be. I'd be interested to know or see that list of veteran players that Buster Only is referring to. A lot of them might be, past their prime or kind of on their way out. But it may also just be that a lot of young guys are taking up these 40-man roster spots. So it's hard to say. That's kind of astonishing to me. Both numbers, even. I think that's a lot of players and not a lot of spots.
Well, I have to give this update because I got to give you your props here. So, Dallas is in Philadelphia playing the 76ers. They've been leading this entire time. Now, all of a sudden, 6 minutes, 18 seconds left. Philly 105, Dallas 98. So we'll see how that pans out as it all goes down together. See Cleveland's come back. It's 66-60. Boston over Cleveland. Brooklyn's up by 1 on Houston. Somebody's beating the tar out of Toronto. It'd be New York. And at the half, Miami has a 10-point lead on Chicago. So, Mitch, big Brewers guy here, right? Did a really nice job 2 weeks ago because we didn't have a show last week. Did a really nice job with the Euchre. I don't want to almost call it a Euchre eulogy. That's not really what it was, but yeah, I just came up with that. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
You gave a personal story about Euchre and how he was, involved with your family and all that kind of stuff. For those of you who didn't get a chance to witness that, you can go to our YouTube page. And where's that at, Mitch?
Yeah, you'll find us at the 643 and out pod on YouTube. You can follow along, watch that whole last episode that we had there, and you'll find it at the end of it, probably the last 6-7 minutes of it.
Right. So now I'm going to talk about the Brewers and the Tigers, both your 2 teams. All right. So first of all, who do you think will be the Brewers' opening day shortstop now that they have traded Willy Adames? You think Bryce Terang or Joey Ortiz?
Yeah, it's tough to say. Right now, I'm actually leaning towards Joey Ortiz. I think they really like what Bryce Terang did at second last year. And I think they want to keep that going. They don't want to mess that up. I know Bryce came up throughout the organization as a shortstop, so I could easily see them moving there. I think it's really where they evaluate, where the difference in glove is there. Do they see Bryce Turing's glove as good enough to move over and change positions once again, or kind of return to his position, or do they see Joey Ortiz as good enough to fill in there and want to keep building on Bryce Turing at second?
Yeah, I think I've got some stats here. I'm trying to find them real quick. I wasn't. I was doing all my breaking news over here, so I wasn't on the right spot. And I'm thumbing down through here. I'm going over to one of my favorite MLB spots, which is MLBTradeRumors.com. I'll give them a plug here. There's a lot of stuff happening over the past little bit. A lot of little signings that are going on right at the moment here in MLB. In fact, I'll give you some additional things here in a moment on the Randall Pritchett, because there is some incentives involved and stuff like that. We said in the beginning it was just a flat $5 million. That doesn't seem to be the case. But both of these guys are really good defensively, Mitch, who has completely disappeared off the screen. There he is. Are you coughing like I was earlier, buddy? You okay over there?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, that's what I was doing earlier, man. I was coughing up a storm. I don't know what the deal was, but yeah. So both of them are really good defensively, though. You're not really going to lose anything there. Do you think one of them is better defensively at short? That I get it. You want the one guy to stay at second, and is that kind of the reason why you're thinking that way, because of their defensive prowess?
Yeah, Ortiz being on the left half of the infield last year at third, I think it's a little bit of an easier transition. I think the real question is, do you think Bryce Turing's Gold Glove and Platinum Glove can transition from second to shortstop and be that Gold Glove, Platinum Glove again? Because if it does, then there's value in moving him over. If if he's going to lose some, then you might as well put Joey Ortiz there and keep that Gold Glove, Platinum Glove at second, and get some more value out of that there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it doesn't really matter which spot they're in. You don't want to move one guy from one spot and lose that defensive. So yeah, I totally agree. So who are you leaning more towards?
I think probably Joey to start the season, and they'll see how he can adjust, and if he's not up to snuff, they'll move Bryce over.
And that was kind of the reason they got Joey in the first place when they made that trade, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So can either Turang or Ortiz's defense make up for the lack of offense that they lose in Willy Adames?
I think Turing's can. I don't know if they can make up for 25 home runs a year. I don't know if your glove can really do that, but Turing's has the ability to. I really don't think Ortiz can be at that level yet, or if either of them can. But Turing definitely has the better chance to with that Gold Platinum Glove there.
Right. So Ortiz's third base work, I finally got the stats. I've stalled long enough. I finally got the stats up here. So the only guy that was better at third base last year than Ortiz was actually Matt Chapman for the Giants. So his work at third base is excellent. And then let's see here. Defensive runs saved had them both really good, plus 22 for Turang. So, I mean, a plus 22 is excellent as far as that part goes. So, it's not like they're kind of sort of good at defense. These guys are, both of them are elite defensive players. And you and I both know, because we're probably better MLB guys than we are the other sports right at the moment. And, that's going to save you in the long run, no matter how well you hit. If you can stop everybody else from hitting, still kind of does the same thing, right?
Yep.
My apologies. I'm still coughing over here. So because of the departure of Willie Adames, Mitch, again, big Brewers guy over here, we're leaning on your big mustache face there, right? And that brain that's in the top part of that cranium there. So which of these four guys is going to get more playing time because of the absence of Adames and either Terang or Ortiz being moved around? So which one you think? Sal Frelick, Tyler Black, Oliver Dunn, or Andrew Monasterio? Who do you think is going to get the most additional playing time than what they had last year because of these moves?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. I think as far as additional goes, it's going to be Oliver Dunn. I think he's going to take over on a big role this year in the Brewers, and we've seen all of these other guys quite a bit. Sal Frelick moving over to third late last year, that was a surprise. I'm interested to see how much time he actually spends there, or if they keep him in right, but. Andrew Monasterio, we saw kind of a utility, put him wherever you can when somebody needs an off day or some rest. Tyler Black was just kind of another fill-in guy, a longer-term injury guy that can fill in a 10-day DL or IL kind of splint, if you will. But I think Oliver Dunn, you're going to see his role really expand this season, and you might even see him on the opening day roster starter. So I do think Oliver Dunn will have a bigger role this year, and again, I think that's because of his defense, but he also gives you some solid offense that they're going to be looking for and need out of these guys.
I see. I'm getting used to see that. I was moving the laptop and it got right in front of the camera because I'm trying to stay on this mic, but yet read the stuff off the other laptop as well. Let me see a little bit. So they got Oliver Dunn in the trade with the Yankees. He was there, left-handed bat. His slash line in Double A in 2023 was 271, 396, 506. He's 27 years old, but when he got a small sample size with the Brewers, he struggled. He only hit 221, 282, 316. And then in the minors, he fanned. You ready for this? I'm not sure if you're going to like this stat at all, but Dunn fanned 28.1% of the time in his 5 minor league seasons. So pretty high there. But he also walked 15.6% of the time. So if you're going to strike out a lot, at least be on base and give me some walks. So he did that for you. So if nothing else, I think that he's intriguing. I'm not saying that you don't know what you're talking about. It's your team more than it is mine. But if you look at everything, I think the guy that you didn't really talk about that I like a lot is Tyler Black. 24 years old, can play multiple positions, and I think that might help him. If I was going to lean somewhere, I think I would go Tyler Black just because of the age and the fact that he can play multiple positions as well. You didn't even talk about Tyler Black, man. What is wrong with you, buddy?
I think the only thing there is not a big enough sample size so far, and they really like Tyler Black at first, and I think they want to keep him around for when it's inevitable. Reese Hoskin goes down for a little bit, so I think it's tough. I really think if they're trying to find a fit at third or corner infield at all, it's from what I've heard. They're really high on Oliver Dunn, and they want to give him that chance. So I think at the very least, they're going to fully exhaust what they think they can get out of Oliver Dunn. I think they're still kind of waiting on Tyler Black. So I don't know if we're going to see that this year just yet, at least at the beginning of the season. But I do think we'll get a healthy dose of Oliver Dunn until they feel confident one way or another if he's going to be the answer. And if not, be able to trade him pretty soon.
Okay. Again, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's your team much more than it is my team. I just wanted to take advantage of the fact that we've got you here on the podcast and that we can actually look at some of these things as well. I'm going to look for some more stats and stuff here on stuff as you kind of talk about this. Let's go to our second topic here on our MLB 4 pitch talk, and that would be with the firing of MLB umpire Pat Holberg. Is MLB sending a mixed message when it comes to gambling? You want to explain how all this happened, or you want me to explain how all this happened?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I'll kind of weigh in with what I think. I don't know if I don't know if we're gonna agree on this one. So I'll let you set the stage.
Okay, fine. So let me use let me pick this up and go over here to this side so that I can read it. Still stick on this one. So this is the tweet from John Heyman. Let me start there. All right. So he says umpire Pat Holberg, considered MLB's best by many, was fired for sharing a betting account with a friend who bet on baseball. MLB said there was no evidence that he bet on baseball or that he affected any games. Uh, his umpiring was excellent, but MLB found that he impeded the inquiry by deleting messages. So hang on, let me pick this up, go around this way, sit this thing back down on the other side of me, make some noise while I'm doing it, just to annoy everybody, and then we'll go. Do so he didn't do anything wrong. That's what I don't get this at all. They couldn't prove anything, but yet they fired him anyway, and that's what I want to kind of get to here. Are we sending the wrong message by firing someone who they couldn't find any evidence on?
Yeah, I think we are. And I think that, I think I understand where they're coming from with the firing. It's sure he didn't find anything wrong, but he did try to cover it up. He did, delete some evidence that they were looking at and some of the messages that they were trying to find and go through. But I think we are sending really mixed messages when we see Shohei Ohtani wrapped up in a huge gambling scandal.
You knew where I was going here, didn't you?
And, the best, what some consider the best player in Shohei Ohtani, and what most consider the best, at least calling balls and strikes umpire, Pat Hoberg, you see a completely different response. One's fired out of the league forever, and the other is kind of given a scapegoat, and they fire his interpreter,
Right.
which ended up helping him get an opt-out for his contract whenever he wants. So definitely mixed messages. Is anything related to gambling a fireable offense unless it involves Shohei Ohtani, or is it just when it involves an umpire?
Right. So is it we're sending a message here with ML, not we, because you and I aren't part of MLB whatsoever. We just get to talk about it, and that's about the extent of it here. But I think MLB is saying, if you're a superstar, you're okay. If you're bringing us money, you're okay. But if you're even if you're the best at what you do, since it's not really bringing us in money, then we don't care about you. And the other part of this equation that personally I can't stand, and you know, the poor guy has passed away now, so I'm sure they're going to elect him into the Hall of Fame sometime soon. But Pete's always been my guy, and I can't stand the fact that MLB is not the only sport that does it, but all these sports take all this money from these gambling spots. I mean, we have the FanDuel network now in MLB instead of Valley Sports now, because they took it over. So we're okay taking money from them, but we're not okay, with our players and stuff doing this. And by the way, Mitch, you and I both know this. If you think that MLB players are not betting on sports, you're absolutely insane. They're just doing it to get around it and everything else.
Yeah.
I don't think they should be betting on their sport, but I don't think there's anything wrong with them betting on football or soccer or anything else. The league is taking a pretty hard stand on it, but I think it's a hard yet convenient stand on it. Would you agree with hard yet convenient?
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree.
So how about this? Should Pat have been fired?
No. Nope, no doubt. Not even if he wasn't the best umpire balls and strikes of anyone. No, he didn't bet on baseball. He didn't do anything wrong.
Right. And they even came out and said we couldn't find anything. They were upset that he deleted some messages.
Mm-hmm.
I delete text messages all the time.
Yeah.
Now, it's not an incriminating thing and all that. I get that there's a little bit of a difference between me deleting a text message that you and I have sent back and forth about this show, and the two of them delete text messages back and forth, and the two of them the person that Pat was involved with, Pat being the umpire, was a professional poker player. So there's that gambling aspect there. But this is ludicrous. I believe. Let me ask you this: if players are caught, then shouldn't they be fired?
Yeah, I think you have to keep the same standard. Clearly, MLB, picks and chooses when they want to be really hard on gambling, as you mentioned with Pete Rose and Pat, and then you see how they handled the Shohei Ohtani situation. So they pick and choose. But yeah, I think if you're gonna go down this lane, you can't pick and choose. It has to be a blanket thing. Um, and MLB has to be ready to stand behind that. If you're gonna make this decision, you have to be ready for potentially some of your best players to be fired and kicked out of the league. And if you're not willing to do that, maybe you should question why you're willing to do that for umpires.
Right. Um, yeah, this is a double standard, and there's no other way to say it.
Mhm.
So then, Mitch, you are called money bags for a reason. We'll get to a lot of our NFL stuff here in just a few moments when we do some prop bets and we do some gambling aspects with the Super Bowl, and you're going to be that guy that we turn to for all that. But I want to turn to you a little bit early, and I want to say, Mitch, I'm going to put you in charge of the gambling aspect of MLB. Tell me, where do you draw the line when it comes to gambling, or give me some things that you would put into play if you were the person that's in charge of the gambling aspect of Major League Baseball. I'm going to give you the floor for a second and let you just talk away, buddy.
Yeah, I think it's a clear line, and I think you already mentioned it. It's one thing to bet on other sports. It's a completely other thing to bet on the sport that you're a professional athlete in, and that's where you draw the line. I don't have any problem with professional athletes betting on sports that they are not a part of. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I think it's if that's how they want to spend their money, if that's how they get enjoyment in their entertainment, more power to them. That's a clear line. You can't bet anything relating to your sport. I think that's fair enough. I don't care if it's a game you're involved in. I don't care if you're out of the postseason and you want to bet on the World Series. Doesn't matter to me. If you're a Major League Baseball player, you shouldn't be betting on baseball. If you're in the National Football League, you shouldn't be betting on football. And that's kind of where I see the line. That's as far as it goes. Simple as that, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's that's as simple as that. No betting on your sport.
All right. So there are several people doing live things right at the moment on X, and I can tell you that if you're with us, you are part of the sixth top show on X right at the moment from all the followers that we have. I've said it two or three different times, over 6,100 people with us. So of all of those people that we follow, we are the sixth highest live streaming event right now on Twitter. And we appreciate you guys all doing that with us and for us. So I think we beat that horse a little bit there, and I kind of wanted to beat it a little more, but I'm gonna get off of it with our time constraints here as we're gonna do everything. So Mitch, I'm gonna go to your second team, which is the Detroit Tigers. And I'm going to ask you, what in the heck are the Detroit Tigers doing? Let me set this up for you for a moment. They made the playoffs last year. They have a really good young team, and they're seemingly not doing a whole lot. Yes, they signed Jack Flaherty, and we'll talk about that crazy, ridiculous contract here in a moment. If you don't know the particulars, I have them all, and it's nuts. Um, but I would think this is the year, this is the time for them to strike while the iron is hot kind of thing. And yet they don't seem to be doing it. So I'm just going to ask you the question again. What in the world are the Tigers doing?
I don't know. I don't even know if they know what they're doing. I don't know if you saw the owner of the Tigers, Chris Ilitch, today. It came out that his wife is filing for divorce. So he might be going through some things, and maybe that's why they haven't been too active this offseason. They are at least willing to spend like they may be. But I think there's two ways that this goes. Either Chris decides, you know what, I'm going to spend all I can, or, oh man, I might lose a lot in this divorce. I'm going to spend as little as I can. And there's not going to be an in between. So I think in the coming weeks, we will see a huge shift one way or the other. Um, to your point, they really haven't done much, and this Jack Flaherty signing is going to make it really difficult for them to do that now with how much money they have tied up there.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I promised that I was going to give you the incentives and things on the Randall Gritchett deal, and then I didn't. So I went back to it here. Let me read this off to you here. This is according to MLBTradeRumors.com. So yes, they signed him to a $5 million guarantee. It's broken up into a $2 million salary, followed by a $3 million buyout on a $5 million mutual option. He can also get another $500K in incentives if he gets to 200 plate appearances, and then the other 250K is if he gets to 275 plate appearances. There's also a one-time $250,000 assignment bonus if he gets traded this season. So it does have a few incentives in the deal, as most deals seem to have anymore. And then I also looked it up real quick. They do have the Diamondbacks have one of those vacancies on their 40-man roster that Buster Olney was talking about when I gave you the stat earlier. So they don't have to make a corresponding move. They don't have to do anything. They can just simply add him to the 40-man roster, and they are good. Now, as far as the Jack Flaherty contract goes, $25 million in 2025, and then there's a $10 million option for 2026. But there's a kicker, and I don't understand why you would sign this kicker with Jack Flaherty, but they did. It's official. It's over. This contract has been signed. It goes to $20 million. It goes from $10 million to $20 million if he makes 15 starts. Mitch, I'm going to ask you the same question again. What are the Tigers doing?
Yeah, this contract and the incentives don't make any sense to me. You know, I will say they started this Jack Flaherty saga out well. If they were going to re-sign him, they sent him out this offseason and still made a postseason run, or excuse me, last season still made a postseason run without him, and got back some solid pieces for him, and then end up re-signing him. The only part that they went wrong was re-signing him for this much money. Jack Flaherty, if he's healthy, is going to hit 15 starts for this team by the All-Star break. This is practically a 2-year, $45 million contract.
Yes.
And if it's not, it's still not going to be worth the value for 2 years, $35 million, because the only way it gets to 2 years, $35 million is if he's injured over half the season this year. And then you're paying him $25 million to be injured this year. So yeah, it really doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what they did here.
I'm sorry, we were talking over each other, but it's literally a contract that's a lose-lose for the Detroit Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it whatsoever.
Yep.
The next question that I put up here for you was, why did they not sign Ha-Seong Kim? He could have went over and played third base for them. Now they're still in the Alex Bregman sweepstakes, but they're going to have to really overpay Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on just a second. So Ha-Seong Kim signed a 2-year deal, right? I had to get back over here by the mic and all this here. So he signed a 2-year free agent deal with the Rays. He's guaranteed $29 million, but he can opt out of the first year. So he makes $13 million the first year with a $2 million bonus, and then he's got some other incentives. But the most he can get that contract to is $29 million. Which would you have rather had? Ha-Seong Kim for 2 years at 29, or Jack Flaherty for 2 years at either 35 or 45?
I think especially in the position that the Tigers are in right now, it's Ha-Seong Kim, and I don't understand it. Honestly, I don't understand why a lot of teams didn't sign Ha-Seong Kim and how he ended up with Tampa Bay Ray. I don't understand why Tampa Bay decided to pay Ha-Seong Kim and no one else. So that deal really surprised me too. But yeah, I think they're all in on Bregman. They're going to way overpay and give him way too long of a deal for what he's going to be worth. And if they don't end up signing Bregman, they're really going to be hurting to fill out that infield. And either way, I mean, these last two signings that they could have with Flaherty and Bregman, they're going to end up way overpaying for.
Yeah. So now, you kind of mentioned it, and I'm just going to flat out ask you: do the Tigers now have to sign Alex Bregman in order to make this a successful offseason for them?
Yeah, I think you have to. In successful is going to be um, really dependent on how many years and the quality of play you get out of Alex Bregman. I think there's a lot of question marks there, and what you're going to get from him. There's been real moments of struggle over the last 2 years for Bregman, and who knows how he's going to keep aging. So it's a lot of question marks and a lot of money for a guy that you don't know how he's going to mesh.
Yeah. I think they've backed themselves up into a corner that they don't want to be in. I wanted to get a feedback from you as a Tigers fan. Is this a corner that you want your team to be in?
No, especially not after last season. They were in such a good spot to build off their success of last season with a young, talented team that was still getting better. Hopefully a bounce back season from Torkelson this year, and that would make a huge difference. But yeah, just really, really bad look from a team that looked like they were turning the corner last season.
Right. We're getting ready to talk about who the former MLB Cincinnati Reds Hall of Famer is and how he's going to do with this expansion club here in just a second. But I got one more thing for you. I wanted to end your Tigers thing. I was afraid you was going to get out of Kleenex and start wiping your eyes before this segment was done here. So I wanted to end it on a nicer note for you. I know you've seen it because it's in our notes. I wanted to get your thoughts on this part of the Tigers organization. After 2025, only 3 players on the current roster have any money owed to them, and that is Jack Flaherty, of course, as we just talked about. Colt Keith, that they signed to that really long contract before he even made his debut, taking a chance at signing him to that long-term deal that wasn't a whole lot of money because of it. And then Javier Baez, of course, maybe one of the worst contracts that the Tigers have. So where are you as a fan as far as knowing that, and maybe you still have hope for this organization yet?
Yeah, I do have hope. I think that's really hopeful. I think Javier Baez is a piece of dirt, and you gotta wipe your shoes and try to get clean of him as quickly as you can. But outside of that, yeah, I think there is a lot of room for hope here. They're not tied down to anyone, and they, that really helps your window if you're willing to make signings, which is yet to be seen. If they continue off seasons like this one, doesn't really give you much hope, but at least gives you the illusion or the ability to hope, depending on what they do.
Okay, sounds good. So let's talk about this. This is our last part here. We're going to jump into our NFL talk here in just a moment. We're going to talk about the Eagles. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, the Kansas City Chiefs, and then we'll get into all of our Super Bowl stuff here as we wrap up the show today. So, former Reds shortstop and current Reds Hall of Famer Barry Larkin has joined the Orlando Dreamers, as his title is MLB Ambassador, because he now lives in Orlando. So we got a few questions about this, Mitch. I'm going to throw these at you here. So Rob Manfred has said that he wants 2 more teams before his term is done as commissioner. So should one of them be in Orlando?
No, I don't think we should have any more Florida teams. The 2 Florida teams that we have now, they can't even get fans in their ballpark.
Right.
And one of them doesn't even have a ballpark right now. So, I mean, through no fault of their own, but yeah, no, we can't reward Florida with another baseball team. They can't even get 10,000 fans in the stadium between the 2 of them right now. So that's the last thing they need. I think Orlando is not a good spot for this expansion.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, I love Barry Larkin. I'll probably see him here in the next 3 weeks. By the way, just so you know, I'm glad you said that. Spring training pitchers and catchers report 1 week from today, right? 1 week.
1 week. You
I
can
might
almost,
go, man. I was looking at stuff today. I saw some pictures from some other writers and stuff that I really like that I follow. I saw that there's a lot of Reds pitchers and catchers that are already there.
mhm.
Got my cards and my Sharpies ready, and man, I am not really. I had to make this move. I got some of it ready, so I may take some of those things tomorrow. I might get up real early at the butt crack of dawn tomorrow because I don't have to work. So um, I don't know. We'll see what happens here. But there's people from my work watching. Anyway, so yeah, I don't think it should be in Orlando either. I agree with you. We've got 2 teams in Florida right now. Why would you put a third team in Florida? Makes no sense. We'll talk about maybe other spots we'd like for them to be, but Orlando for me is not one of them. What about this name? They're calling themselves the Orlando Dreamers. Do you like that name?
I actually don't hate it. I do kind of like that. I'm not the most creative guy in the world. I think I mean, it's evident in your, your puns and your names for these segments that you're the more creative of us. So I'll leave the name up to you. But yeah, I don't hate Dreamers. It's a lot better than some of the names that I heard when, they were thinking about rebranding the Cleveland Indians. When it was like Cleveland Spiders or Cleveland Guardians. I don't think there's many great options out there. It's certainly better if we want to talk about, the Commanders. They're all kind of in that same like level to me. So I don't hate the Dreamers. I don't know if I could come up with anything better.
Well, I mean, it is in Florida. It is where all the old people are. Maybe they should call it the Orlando Day Drinkers or something like that.
Yeah, or
So
Sundowners, or I don't know.
yeah, something. The Willie Walkers or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff off the top of my head here. We got to. I'm sure there'll be escalators. Or,
Yeah.
escalators. Yeah, escalators that will take people from point A to point B. They won't have steps. So,
Yeah.
yes, I think this is an interesting topic to discuss for a moment. As again, we keep climbing in numbers. We thank you guys for doing that. Everybody's sticking with us. It looks like, and we keep adding. So some of the people who are with us must have at least a few friends. So they keep telling their friends, "Hey, the Sportz Truth podcast is on. Got to get over and watch it." So we appreciate that. Once again, you can put your comments top right hand corner of the screen. Click on it. Stick with us. Put your stuff on the screen, and we'll put you on the screen. You can be part of the show. Mitch, should fans have any say so in these 2 teams as far as names or the cities or anything like that, or is this something that these MLB executives should get together and those are the only people who are allowed to decide these kinds of things?
Name, I'm not so sure. I think there's been a few like naming contests that you see that are like, hey, get online and somebody vote for the best name, and then that's what we'll go with. And you see some absurd things. So name, I don't know if we should trust the fans with, but definitely cities. Give the fans a chance to show out and say, hey, we want a team and we will support a team if we get one, and really use that as a test of, hey, if you guys want a team, show us that you want a team, show us that you'll come out and support an expansion team and make it worth our while to expand and to reward your city with a team. So yeah, I think when it comes to the cities and where they should go, the fans should have a say, and that's who we should listen to the most, more than anything. But name, I'm not sure, sir, they can be trusted with.
Yeah, they come up with like the Day Drinkers or something like
Yeah.
that. You're like, oh my gosh, what the heck are we doing? So, excuse me. I didn't think I was going to cough then. I don't know. I think the fans, I'm like you, I think the fans should be able to have at least some kind of say so. I like what the NFL is doing with the draft, and they're having it in different cities and stuff like that now. So I think we could do a similar type concept with them, with MLB, and being able to do that. Let's do this. Here's the last question of this segment. Then we're going to move on to our NFL segment here, our NFL 4-down territory. So, Mitch, if you were the commissioner of Major League Baseball, and by the way, you could do a heck of a lot better than the current commissioner of Major League Baseball, but let's not go there right at the moment. Tell me, give me some ideas. Where do you think, what cities do you think should be at least in the running for these last two teams that they want to add to MLB?
Yeah, I think there's a few that come to mind. Nashville has always come to mind for me. They have the Nashville Sounds that always get huge support. Um, Honestly, one I think that will surprise you, and that I think will surprise a lot of people, that I've always kind of thought would be interesting to see, because we don't know anything of what this would look like. Um, give some town in Iowa, give Des Moines a club, or give Iowa City, or Cedar Rapids. Give one of these cities in Iowa a professional sports team, and see what the fans in Iowa can show out and do. That would be the only professional sports team Iowa has, and
Right.
from all the Iowans I know, being from the Midwest, that's been their biggest gripe their whole lives. They don't have anyone to really root for. They can pick and choose whatever sport and whatever team they want, because they have no hometown or home state team. And so give Iowa the chance to show, like, hey, we'd support a team too. And maybe that opens up for other professional sports to add there too, and see what Iowa can do if they really can support a professional fan base.
I've always thought that Kentucky, that Nashville area, Kentucky, Louisville, Frankfurt, something like that would draw really well. I
Mhm.
mean, the same concept that you're talking about with Utah, and I think the same thing, maybe even Nebraska, something like that. Because you're 100% right. They don't have anything else, right? It's like Kentucky. Kentucky has the basketball Wildcats, and that's about the extent of it. Now, the Louisville Bats are probably going to send me a thing right now, like, hey, I heard you talking on your show, bad mouthing us, saying we're nothing, but um, it's actually a really nice stadium. You got Louisville Slugger Museum down there and everything else. And I think you could build something around that in that part of Lexington. I've been there before, or I'm sorry, in Louisville. I've been there before, and I think that would be a really nice spot. Another thing that I would like to consider, a city I'd like to see considered, is Portland, Oregon, as well. I
Yeah.
think up in there would do really well. So I guess my point here is there are multiple cities that I think MLB could go into, and I really don't think Orlando's one of them. So um, I think we can both agree on that. So I want to talk about Cooper Cup for a moment as we start our NFL. I know I didn't put this on the notes. I didn't even realize until late last night, after I was writing. I had everything done. I'd taken the pictures. I'd sent them over to you. We're going to give you a little bit of insight here. Basically, I write everything out. I take pictures of it all. I send it over to Mitch so that he can look at everything and get prepared for the show and all that. And I didn't put Cooper Cup in there. I don't know if you saw his thing on social media. I don't know if it was yesterday or today. If you haven't got a chance to, and our fans haven't got a chance to, it's really nice. Picture him and his wife on the field, and he's praising LA, and basically saying that he's got some more football in him, and he really thought that it was going to be in LA, but they have told him that they're going to seek a trade for him. And I want to give you a little insider tip here. According to NFL Rumors, an ex Twitter, Twitch, whatever site that we follow, and also follows us at NFL Rums, at NFLRUMS. They are saying, ready, buddy? The Detroit Lions are pursuing Cooper Cup this offseason. How would you feel if the Detroit Lions signed Cooper Cup, bud?
Yeah, depending on the price tag, I think I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'm gonna be interested to see what the asking price for him is, and what really he demands. But I saw that as well. Brad Holmes knows how to get a deal done, and I think that if they can get a deal done, that would be a huge addition. Um, I mean, you can never have too many guys. I think Cooper Cup, he's handled Puka Nakua in LA very gracefully. You didn't really hear the whole well, he's getting more receptions than me. He's getting more targets than me this year. When Cooper Cup was kind of taking the back seat to Nakua. So I think that'd be a great addition, and you know he and Jared Goff get along really well. They're really close off the field, so I think it'd be a good character fit as well.
I thought this was interesting. I saw this, and then we're going to get into our meat and potatoes here with the 4-down territory. We'll start with the Eagles, and we'll work our way up from there. I didn't know that Pat Riley owned the phrase three-peat.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. And I'm just reading here on NBA Central. It is the Dunks at the Dunk Central for those of you who are looking to add more great content to your Twitter followers, like you can with Mitch. Where are you at, Mitch? Again?
Yep, you'll find me at Mitchellbrook52.
See that? That's called a segue, sir. That was really nice. And then you can go to our Twitter account at the643 and out pod, and I would also tell you to go to at the Dunk Central. Pat Riley just made a deal with the NFL to where they can use the term three-peat. I wonder how much that cost the NFL. I thought that was interesting as we jump into our NFL topics for today. NFL cornerback Darius Slade Jr. said, "I'm not trying to have fun. I'm mostly on a business trip." I thought that was an interesting quote from him. So I got 3 questions about him and this quote. Number one, how do you balance having fun and winning, Mitch, especially in something that is this magnitude like the Super Bowl? I mean, you want to have fun, right? Because it's possibly a once in a lifetime kind of thing, but you also want to win. How do you balance the two?
You have fun after you win. You go there exactly like Darius Slay said, and on business, and you take care of your business. I'm a big fan of the way that teams and I think players do it. After clinching a postseason berth or winning a game, you have your fun that night. You celebrate. The next day, it's back to business. Once you win that Super Bowl, you can give yourself some fun for a few weeks and not worry about business just yet. But when you have another game to play, whether it's 1 week or 2 weeks or 10 days away, you get 1 day to celebrate, and then it's back to business. So I think he's doing it right, especially when it comes to the Super Bowl. Until you win that game, there is no fun. It's all business.
Yeah, I'm all right with it's all business. I'm not a big fun guy anyway. I think I agree with you, except I'll add a little bit to it. The people who win are always the ones having fun, right? So 100%. You win first, then you have fun later. You can celebrate after the win. Why would you be going to a bunch of different, restaurants and a bunch of different amusements? And I know you're probably taking your family with you to the Super Bowl, and certain people are taking Taylor with them to the Super Bowl and all kinds of other stuff, right? But I 100% agree with you. I'm actually a little surprised that we're both on the same page here. But yes, I love how you started the segment. You celebrate after you win, 1,000%. Does how many times you have been to the event matter? Like, Darius Slay now has been to the Super Bowl. This says it's his 3rd time. So do you think it would be different on your 2nd time or your 3rd time going to a big event like this, and you look at it a little different, Mitch?
Yeah, I definitely think you do. I think that first time you probably do have a little more fun. You probably do have a little more time to take in the experience and to really, try to enjoy it in all the little pieces, and not really maybe not think so much in the game beforehand. But I think the second, third time you go, multiple times you go, it's easier to kind of separate that distraction and feel that, it is mostly about the game still, and not get so caught up in all of the extra fanfare and the extra show that goes on with it. So I do think it matters in your ability to kind of separate the fun and the business aspect of it.
This just keeps getting more and more interesting here. I'm reading all kinds of stuff. So it looks like there could be a 4-team trade brewing between the Heat, the Golden State Warriors, and Phoenix, and an unknown 4th team.
Man, I got to take your Twitter away from you. You're
I know it, man. Brian Windhorst is just tweeting out that Jimmy Butler's only goal is to get to Phoenix. No amount of money or a role in a different team will change his mind. He wants to go to Phoenix and Phoenix only. So again, this NBA thing is fluid right at the moment. I know we're talking MLB, and I know we're in the middle of our NFL, but I want to keep everybody up to date on all this stuff. It's pretty interesting. I don't know. I might have to watch an NBA game before it's all said and done. Phoenix plays tonight, I think. So shoot, I don't know. They might be suckering me in here. So does the outcome matter as long as you just have fun? I know when we're all in the little league, the coaches are all like, "Oh, you lost, but you had fun, right?" And everybody's like, "Yeah, we had fun." And then, does that change as you get older? And if it does, how does it change, Mitch?
Yeah, it changes completely. When you're outside of that peewee, and you're outside of everybody gets playing time, even if you're the worst on the team, that's when it becomes not only about did you have fun, it becomes about, did you do well? Did you not only win, but did you succeed and did you get better? Did you do the things you needed to do? Did you work on aspects of your game? It goes through that stage, and then when you're at the highest level, um, I don't care if you have fun at all. I don't care if you're miserable out there. If you win the game, have fun afterwards, because it's not about going out there and having fun. I don't want to see my team, the Lions this postseason. If they lose that game to the Commanders, and everyone in the interview comes out and says, "Well, we had fun." Dan Campbell comes and says, "Well, my players had fun this season." I don't care. I don't care at all. I wish they would have had a terrible season. I wish they all would have hated the season more than I'm glad that they had fun if it ends like that.
Yeah. Yes. Again, 100% agree with you on all this stuff that we're talking about here with the whole winning and how do you balance winning with having fun. Excuse me. I was the guy, when I was the coach of my daughter, and we were doing softball and stuff like that. No, you don't have fun while this is all going on. We are serious, and I was serious at pee wee level, because I always thought you have to train the kids in the way they should be when they get older, and you make them realize that the winners always have more fun. So let's concentrate on winning first. I think both of us agree on that. Let's go to Miles Garrett here. Miles Garrett posted on social media on Monday that he wants the Cleveland Browns to trade him. So we got 4 questions on this, Mitch. Let's start with the first one. First, do you blame him? Do you blame him for wanting out of Cleveland?
No, I don't blame him for wanting to get out of there. Cleveland's a dumpster fire right now, and there's nothing good going on there. They are still unwilling to move away from Deshaun Watson, even after a second Achilles tear. And so, no, I don't blame him at all for wanting to get out of Cleveland and hopefully wanting to go to a winner and not just get out of there for the sake of getting out of there.
Right. I'm over here smiling because it's like Twitter's calling my name over here to my right. I keep having to look over at it like, what's going on now? What's going on now? So, yeah, I don't blame him at all either. I mean, but you can blame all of this on Deshaun Watson and that terrible trade that they made. I know on other sports talk shows and stuff today, that's kind of what they've been focusing on is, look at all of the things that Deshaun Watson has caused for them. And I think it's going to be interesting. We'll talk about trades and where he's going to go and stuff like that here in just a couple minutes. But I wonder how long Cleveland will stay with him. And if they're going to trade Miles Garrett, will they be after a quarterback in return? I think that'll be an interesting concept here. How about the social media aspect? Do you like the fact that Miles Garrett went on social media and requested the trade, or does that really matter?
No, I don't like that. And honestly, I think that's the only thing I'd blame him for in this situation. I don't like that at all. I think these are, it's a business and you have to treat it as such. This isn't some social media game. This isn't some thing for likes or clicks. This is a business. And if a team is going to approach you and say, hey, you're being traded, they're not going to do it through a social media post, and you shouldn't request a trade that way either. So I don't like that. That's the only thing I blame him for in this. Don't blame him for wanting out, just the way that he expressed that.
Now, from everything that I was reading, he actually went to the team first and said, "Hey, I want out," and they said, "No, we're not trading you. You're our guy. You're our franchise. We signed you to a nice, healthy contract, and we're not trading you." And then he went to social media. So, do you have a problem with him going to social media after he went to the team professionally and personally first?
I still think yes, because I don't know what good that does for you. I don't know what good going to social media does for you. And I don't know all the rules about this. I don't know if his agent can, reach out to teams and kind of put together some trade ideas and then present them to Cleveland, how that works. And so maybe this is the only option he had to kind of, get that talking and maybe get some trade offers for him to Cleveland. But yeah, I still just don't like it. I think it's a bad look, and it just looks unprofessional.
Okay. I mean, we were just talking earlier in our NBA talk about are you okay? Are you crying over there? Are
Yeah,
you
I think I'm gonna make it.
okay? You think you're going to make it? All right. I'm sorry if I'm boring you. You gotta rub your eyes over there. Sir. Hey, but we were talking earlier in our NBA talk how we thought that the agents and the players had too much control over the product, and now we're going to do the same thing with the NFL. Miles Garrett coming out saying he wants to be traded. So doing it on that social media aspect, I don't think that I can look into this camera and talk to our fans and yourself about this and not have at least a little bit of reservation about how we did it. Uh, so I don't mind it, especially if it's true that he went to the team first, but I would really hate it if he didn't go to the team whatsoever and just came out on social media and said, "Hey, I want out." So yeah, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He did give him 18 years, and he's getting paid 5 years at 125 million. So does he owe the Cleveland Browns anything like to finish out that contract or anything like that? Because they are paying him, and he had to put his name on the contract too.
No, he doesn't owe them anything. But if sometimes these things happen, relationships go sour, and I think it's a clear indicator that he wants to win. He's not happy in Cleveland, and um, they've done a lot of things to make their players unhappy. So I don't blame him. I don't think he owes them anything. Um, if the Cleveland Browns organization thought they owed their players anything, they probably wouldn't be sticking with this Sean Watson. So
Mhm.
I think it goes both ways.
Okay. I'll agree with you on that. I don't think he owes them anything, but I think it is going to make that a little difficult for them to trade him once we talk about his contract here in a few moments. So we'll stick with that aspect here. What is Garrett worth? And this is where I'll talk about the contract too. So in 2025, he'll make 19.7 million, and in 2026, he'll make 20.3 million. The team that's going to get him is also going to have to give up what probably 3 or 4 picks, maybe a player, something like that. So not only are they going to have to pay him a pretty good amount of money, but they're going to have to give up some draft capital and some other stuff. What what is Miles Garrett worth?
Yeah, at this point in his career, I think it's kind of hard to say and evaluate. I'm not a big mock trade guy. I'll leave that to you, but I really don't know what this market is going to look like. I'll be really interested to see. To your point, I do think there will be a few picks and maybe a player, but I don't think those are going to be very high picks if it's going to be multiple. If it's one or two picks, I could see a second, maybe 2 second rounders. But I don't really know what this market is going to look like, especially when you consider how much they have to pay the guy once he is on their team.
I wanna give a shout out real quick to John Anderson. You know who you are, buddy. You know what you represent. You can look at our Twitter feed. Put a few things up there for him. I'm trying to get him to come on our show. Do I have to beg? Do I? Because I will. We'll see what happens here. All right. So I think he's gonna. That's the thing, right? The money is not terrible. I would pay Miles Garrett. Um, he he is probably at least in the top three of defensive players right now. If he's not number one, he's definitely in the top three. Um, he's an edge rusher. What did so? Let me ask you this: what did Adrian Hutchinson mean to Detroit? Right? Miles Garrett can mean that same thing to another team if they go out and get him.
Yep.
So I think that the position that he plays is very valuable, and he is really good at that position. Also, I'll throw out the stat that I read, and I jotted down here on the notes that I have in front of me that I didn't share with you. Um, he has played the third most snaps over the last 5 years in the NFL. So he does the position well. It's not a terrible amount of money, and he's not injured very often. It's not like Anthony Davis or Luca that we were talking about earlier. This is a prime. He's a premier player at a premier position, and he plays all the time. So I think that's going to be worth a lot of money, which leads me to the last question. Mitch, I'm gonna, I know you're probably gonna say, "Oh, I don't do this thing," and you really don't do this a lot. You'll leave this up to me, which I'll put a few things up here in a minute. Will he get traded, and to who? So at least give me, will he get traded?
I'll give you even one team that I think he'll get traded to, and I think this
Give me
team
more
is
than I thought.
easy. Yeah, exactly. I can surprise you sometimes.
Okay, that's good.
But no, I think this team is fed up with where they're at. They want to make it to the next level and push themselves beyond, and this is the guy to do it for them. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to go out and make a move for Myles Garrett, and I think they have to if they want something to set their team apart from what it has been in the past. They're clearly just a few pieces, maybe one piece away from getting it done and pushing themselves to the next level. And I think Myles Garrett is that piece to help them do that.
So you're saying he's going where? The
Buffalo.
Bills?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. So I will grant you that I don't think you pay this much and you give up this much draft capital if you're way far away,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're the third or fourth team in your division, a lot of people were linking Dallas to this. No, I don't think Dallas has any inclination whatsoever to get in this market because they know that if they get Myles Garrett, they're not all of a sudden Super Bowl contenders. So I do believe that a team that gets this guy needs to be a Super Bowl contender. So I'm going to give you two places that I think he can go, and I think at least one of them will surprise you. Let me give you the obvious one. At least I think it's the obvious one. But the problem is it's in division. Um, Cincinnati Bengals already have the receivers. They already have the quarterback. They're just a defensive person or two away. And I think that they would have, oh man, Hendrickson on one side and Miles Garrett on the other side. Yeah, that would really be a force. And I think that could take them on a Super Bowl path. The other one's kind of interesting for me because they've got draft capital, but they don't have a whole lot of players. So, and it's the other team that I'm a big fan of. Think about this. What if the Arizona Cardinals trade a bunch of their draft capital and go out and get Myles Garrett? Now, follow me for a second, and this is where I'm going to give it to you at. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sure you can't tell me. So they had 40 sacks as a team, did the Arizona Cardinals. But one player, so let me ask, Mitch, not who, how many sacks do you think was the number one on the team? Can you hear the feedback?
I don't know. 8.
Yeah, see, that's what, no one on the Cardinals got more than 5 sacks last year. So if you bring in Myles Garrett, who got 15 for you on a pitiful team, and I mean, think about that. They're already down by 14 points usually by halftime, right? They're going to double team him. Why? Why, if you're Myles Garrett, why would you even continue to try? You're still going to get paid, right? So I'll give that to him. And then if you put him on a good team, I wonder what he could do on a good team.
Yep.
So I think maybe the Arizona Cardinals will go after him as well. So those would be my two teams. Would be Cincinnati. I think that's an obvious choice, and then possibly the Arizona Cardinals. Let's get into a little bit more of our bowl stuff. So when asked on Monday if the referees favored the Chiefs, Roger Goodell called it ridiculous. The Chiefs owner was on NFL Network and called it excuses for having success. Do you agree with either one of those two guys, Mitch?
No. They're they're just talking out of their behinds. They're trying to get people.
Okay, you cleaned it up for us, sir. That's good.
Yeah, they're trying to get people to buy a story that we all know isn't true. And that's, I mean, that's Roger Goodell's job. It's his job, and it's the Chiefs' job as the owner, to say, to talk his team up and tell us how good they are, and how, they have so much success and they don't need help and it's all on their players. But no, I'm not buying either of them.
Oh, okay. So I can give you one breaking NBA trade. Hang on. Let me move the laptop over to here so I can read it. Stay with this part of the mic here. All right. So the Golden City Warriors have agreed to trade Mike Dunleavy Jr. to the Oklahoma City Thunder for, oh my God, Gilgeous Alexander. Is that all right?
I think you're getting trolled there. Mike Dunleavy Jr. is he's been out of the league for who knows that since 2017.
You know what? I'm just going to put Twitter away, and I'm going to be done with Twitter over here, and we're going to focus on what we're doing. All right. So, here. Shutting that laptop and everything. All right, done with you. See, I was going to ask you if you were a conspiracy theorist, but here I am getting played over here on Twitter. Mitch, would you consider yourself a conspiracy theorist guy with all this stuff going on with the Chiefs right now?
No, I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but the more this stuff happens, it's really hard to even consider it a conspiracy theory. I just don't. I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but I also don't believe in coincidence. And there's far too much coincidence in everything that happens with the Chiefs over the last 5 years, to not think something fishy is going on.
I think it's been really bad this particular season. So here's my last question on this. Then we're going to jump into our Super Bowl predictions. We're going to do prop bets and stuff like that here as we wrap up the show. This will be a fun spot for us and for all of our fans. Will we see a blatant call that goes in the favor of the Chiefs during the Super Bowl? What do you think? Yes or no?
No, we won't see a call. We'll see a few.
Oh,
it won't be one. It'll be plenty. It'll be as many as it takes to win them the game. But it's not going to be one. It's going to be a few.
Wow, so we're doubling down here. All right, that's fine. You're allowed. I'll give it to you. You're allowed to double down.
Do you not agree?
I don't know if they can do it on the big stage or not. Can they do it in front of everybody?
Yeah.
I mean, it's different to do it during a regular season game where only certain people are watching. This is going to be watched by millions and millions of people. Do they have those big grapefruits to be able to do that?
Unfortunately, I think they do. I think you saw it in the spotting of the line of scrimmage last week in Buffalo, or in Kansas City, but against Buffalo. Mm-hmm. I think they do. I think they genuinely believe in Roger Goodell's statement. I think they think as long as they get on TV and say, "Oh, that's ridiculous," that they just sweep it under the rug and nobody thinks anything more of it. Maybe they think everybody's that dumb, but yeah, I really do think we'll see a few.
All right, buddy, let's put this up here. Let's do our Super Bowl predictions and prop bets. I'm going to do my 3 prop bets. I'm going to let you do your 3, and then we'll predict who we think is going to win the big game. All right, buddy?
Yep.
Okay, so over under, I'm going to look 49.5 points. Now, I know that especially the Eagles, they have scored a lot of points on a lot of different games this year, but 50 points, 49.5 points, you really think 50 points are going to be scored in the Super Bowl? I'm going to say no. I would go under. Would you go under or over the 49.5 points?
That's a tough one. I think it's actually a really good line. I think I would lean towards over. And the only reason I would do that is because I think it's going to be a shootout for the Chiefs, and Saquon is going to run all over the place. So I think if Saquon can put up some points for the Eagles, it will hit the over. But I think the Chiefs are going to really be trying to put points on the board, and take some gambles because they know they're going to have to outlast the Eagles.
So do you think maybe they're going to take some chances because they, being the Eagles, they would take more chances because they're afraid of what we were talking about earlier of the conspiracy theory and
Mm-hmm.
if I score enough points, not even the NFL can snatch this victory away from them,
Can't
right?
let it be close. Yep, exactly. If it's a one-score game, it's going to be the Chiefs.
All right. Um, maybe you've just given away the end there, but that's okay. I like that. I like what you just said right there. So my second prop bet here is these prop bets. I was reading through, like, really. I don't want to give a whole lot of them away because I don't know what prop bets you're going to take, so I don't want to dampen yours. But I thought about this one. Who will the MVP think first? Yes, you can actually bet on this, and you can say God, teammates, family, friends, or fans. Um, I'm going to say that there's a lot more religious people out there in the world, and that when the MVP gets up there and he takes his trophy, he's going to thank God first. Would you put any money on anybody else?
No, yeah, I'm taking God first there as well. I think that's usually the safe bet there, and I think that's exactly what'll happen.
Okay. Last one for me. I know you've seen all these notes for me. I had to throw this one in there. Um, here's a prop bet, and you can actually bet on this. I swear, I saw these online. You can really bet on all of these. I know our fans are taking notes here as to what in the world we're doing. I'm building this one up, and here it is. Will Travis Kelsey propose to Taylor Swift on the field after the game? What do you think? Are you going to say yes or no here?
Yes, I do. I think it's all been a publicity stunt, and this is the perfect time to end it. So if the Chiefs win, yes, I think it'll be an easy thing to call. But again, that's if the Chiefs win. If they don't, no.
Okay, yeah, I don't think he can't propose to her if they lose, can he? That would be kind of anticlimactic here for all of this. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm with you. If the Chiefs win, I could see that happening to where especially if he gets the MVP or whatever, and you know, yeah, and just make me want to vomit right there wherever I'm at. I'm not sure where I'm going to be at, right? Watching this game or whatever, or if I'll even stick to it till the end, depending on how many times we're right about our conspiracy theory things. But um, yeah, if it gets to be this point, I think there's a really good inclination that this may happen. I'm going to take about a minute and a half or so and walk away from this screen for a second. Give me your prop bets, and I'll be back in 30 seconds. All right.
Sure. My first prop bet, I think, is going to surprise some people, and it's going to be a really long odd one, but I'm just hoping for it because I really love to see these, and it's going to be a scoregami. Scoregami right now is plus 2,500, and I really like that plus 2,500 odd. So I really like that. My second one is going to be: will there be a flea flicker in the Super Bowl? I'm taking yes at plus 250. I do think there will be um, a flea flicker, and I think it's going to be really exciting to see when they do break it out. I'll even give you this. I think it'll be the Eagles that bust it out, and I think it's going to be when they need it the most, and are trying to get out of some sticky situations. Another one that I think is going to be a good one with good odds. So all these have plus odds here. I'm going to say the first defensive player to record a sack is going to be George Karlaftis. He's plus 450 right now, and I think that's a really safe bet. I think that's going to be a good one. Another sneaky one that I like is Chris Jones to be the first player to record a sack. I think that could easily be a hit, and that's plus 850 for Chris Jones to be the first player with a sack. So I take either of those guys, first player with the sack, either George Karlaftis or Chris Jones, and that'd be some good money. But my number one, best money and kind of the most fun to root for, you're never out until the end, is the Scorigami at plus 2,500.
The Scorigami. What the heck is that?
That means it's the first unique score. It's the first time that unique score has ever been scored in a football game. This season, since scorigamis have become a thing, and I guess into the public eye, this season has had the most scorigamis of any NFL season. So I think the Super Bowl is going to continue that, and it's going to have a scorigami. And at plus 2,500, you might as well, right?
All right. I like it. I mean, all I have to say is I'm just glad that the new house has a bathroom right outside the office door. Oh man, yeah, 2 hours, and then I was here for about an hour beforehand, getting everything prepped and ready, and making these new little circles that our faces are in, and all that kind of stuff. So, if you guys like this new look a little, give us a shout. Let us know. You can go to at D643 and out pod. For our main account, you can go to Mitch. His Twitter is at MitchellBrook52, right, buddy?
Yep.
All right. I'm trying to memorize all this stuff. We got it all put together. Okay, I said I was going to stop looking at Twitter. I'm not even going to look over there. I'm good. Mitch, what were your 3 prop bets for me, buddy?
Yeah, I had the Scorigami at plus 2,500. I had a flea flicker at some point in the game. Yes, plus 250. I think the Eagles are going to pull it out. And the first player to record a sack with Chris Karlaftis at plus 450 or Chris Jones at plus 850.
That's the difference between you and I. I was doing all my prop bets for fun. You're doing all yours for money. So that's where we are here. So that's why we call you money bags over there, because you're doing it all for money, buddy. All right. So let's do it. Who will win the Super Bowl? You want to go first, or you want me to go first? I'll let you decide, buddy.
I'll take it. I really hope I'm wrong here, but I'm taking the Chiefs. This line especially is way too close for me. I think the Chiefs should be much more heavily favored. They're 1.5 favorites at minus 120, and the Eagles are plus 100. I know I usually stay away from those minuses, but I think the Chiefs is just too much of a lock. I think they get too much help from the referees in the league, and especially at minus 120, it's too good a value to pass up when you pretty much know if they're even close to winning this game, they're going to get pushed over the edge by the refs.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. I've been thinking about this for a little bit. I said in the beginning that I wasn't even going to watch this game because I was going to, basically forfeit a lot. And I've seen a lot of people, especially in the beginning when the two teams, and I was going to say when they were announced, when we knew what two teams were going to be in the Super Bowl, a lot of people were saying the same thing, and a lot of people like myself were like, "Oh, you know what? I'm still going to watch." And I'll admit it. I'm still going to watch it. I may not be in front of the television at every minute of it. It's not going to be one of those type Super Bowls for me, but I'll still tune in. I might watch the commercials more than I watch the actual game. But the NFL's got us. They're the only product in town right at the moment. I will talk to you off air. I do have a way of possibly getting tickets to the golf tournament over the weekend, the same weekend. So, like I said, I'll talk to you off air. So don't click away when we go off. I'll talk to you about it real quick and see what you want to do here. But yeah, I'm still going to take the Eagles, man. I really want to take the Eagles, and I really hope they win. In fact, to be honest with you, I hope the Eagles slaughter. That's the only way that I'll probably watch this Super Bowl from beginning to end is if the Eagles are up by 14 plus points, and I'm just cheering them on.
Yep.
We'll see what happens there, but I'm with you. As much as I don't want to admit it, I do. I think the NFL will make sure the Chiefs win. and they can do the 3 feet thing, and they can be the new Patriots as we discussed a couple weeks ago. So,
Yep.
all right. I'll give you the last word today before we do our saying at the end, and then we're going to go out with bagpipes again. I've got it all ready.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and I hope we're both surprised, and I hope we're both wrong. I was kind of in the same boat, not watching. I'm gonna watch. I'll tell you one thing. I have no interest in the halftime show whatsoever. Kendrick Lamar doesn't do anything for me, so I probably won't watch much. I'll be watching mostly for the commercials. So, um, go Eagles! Never thought I'd say that, but anybody but the Chiefs.
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say something about the halftime show when I was doing the prop bet thing. I was looking through his music, and I'm like, I don't know that song. 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 So I don't know if that means I'm just too old. I don't know music anymore because all I really listen to are sports and podcast stuff, or what. But I didn't know a single one of his songs.
Yeah, I wouldn't waste your time getting familiar either. In the next few days.
All right, no problem, buddy. Hey, man, I appreciate you. Thank you all very much for being with us, Mitch. Thank you once again for being with us. Next week, I will give you a little bit of a preview. I want to talk about Mike Trout. Can he come back? What's he going to be? What's he going to mean to MLB next week? So we will talk about Mike Trout as far as his MLB status for next week. So everybody can look forward to that. Once again, thank you guys very much. Appreciate everybody that's still coming on with us 2 hours and 15 minutes later. Everybody that stuck with us the entire time. And for those of you who are watching us on a replay, you can do that here on X at D643 and Out Pod. You can go to our YouTube channel, what is it again, Mitch?
Yep, at the 643 and Out Pod. You'll find us at the same place. You can subscribe, follow along. You'll find the full thing here. So if you're just joining us now, head over to our YouTube and you'll find us there, and you can watch the whole thing back.
Absolutely. And then we are also on Apple Podcasts as well. That's a new thing for us. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have another announcement or two within the next 3 weeks. We're working on a couple other things. So listen, and I want to really take about 30 seconds, 45 seconds or so, look dead into this camera and tell you guys thank you very much. When Mitch and I started this, it's like, okay, will people listen? Will they tune in? Will they do what, and we're getting a lot of feedback on it. Most of it is positive. So we appreciate it. We thank you guys for coming on and taking some time out of your busy schedule to listen to us just banter about sports. We thank all of you. We appreciate you. And of course, as we say at the end of every show, the only thing that's fair in life is a baseball hit between the third and first base line. Good evening. Need to have lights in the background. Light up when that goes on.
Yeah, like the old what was that WWE? The Irishman that walked out.
Yeah, Sheamus.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, we appreciate you very much. We're still alive. I wanted to hear the music a little bit. We added some more people there at the end. We thank you guys. We appreciate you. Mitch, talk to me again, because I think I can actually hear you when this music's playing.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say I think I could hear myself even. So, yeah, if you are joining us now, head over to our YouTube and find the whole podcast at the 643 and Out Pod. Right when we're done here, it'll be uploaded there. So head on over.
All right. Thank you, Mitch. Appreciate you. Thank all of our fans. Appreciate them as well. You guys have a good evening. Mitch, stick with me. I'll talk to you off air for just a second.